Tonight, you can finally slow down. You don't have to explain why you're tired, or justify how much you've done, or prove that you deserve to rest. The night has already wrapped itself around you, and in the distance you see the soft, steady glow of a fire calling you closer. You walk toward it with heavy steps, feeling the weight of the day in your body, in your shoulders, in the quiet ache behind your eyes. When you reach the circle of light, you see him, Jesus, already there, already waiting, the firelight dancing across his face, calm and kind. He doesn't stand and rush you or demand anything from you. He simply looks at you with a knowing, gentle smile and makes room for you beside him. Before we begin, take a moment to comment where you're watching from and leave a prayer below. This community prays for each other every night, and your prayer might be the one someone truly needs. And if these videos bring you comfort, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a moment of rest with God. You come closer, almost unsure if you're really welcome, almost wondering if you've done too much wrong or not enough right. But his eyes answer you before your questions can form. There is no disappointment in them, no tiredness with you, no hint that you are a burden. Only warmth. Only invitation, only love. You sink down beside the fire, and the ground feels more solid than it has all day, like you've finally stopped running, finally stopped holding everything together by yourself. The flames crackle softly, not loud or wild, but calm, like a heartbeat in the dark. You feel the warmth touch your hands, your face, the places that have been cold for too long. For a moment, neither of you speaks. Jesus doesn't rush to fill the silence, and he doesn't ask you to. He just sits there with you, shoulder close enough that you can feel his nearness, but not pressing, not demanding. He knows how worn out you are. He knows the invisible battles you fought today, the ones no one thanked you for, the ones no one even saw. He knows about the smile you forced when you wanted to cry. He knows about the brave face you put on when inside you felt like you were breaking. You don't have to explain any of it. He's been with you the whole time. You take a slow breath, the kind you haven't allowed yourself all day, the kind that goes all the way down into your chest, into the place that has been tight with worry and strain. The air is cool, but the fire is warm, and between the two your body begins to unclench. You didn't even realize how tense you were until now. Your shoulders start to drop from where they've been hunched up around your ears. Your jaw loosens. Your hands, which have been clenched around invisible burdens, begin to soften and rest in your lap. Jesus notices. His eyes never leave you, not in a way that makes you feel watched or judged, but in a way that makes you feel finally seen. You've been moving through your day as if on a stage, performing, striving, trying not to disappoint people, trying not to disappoint yourself, maybe even trying not to disappoint God. But here, by the fire, the performance is over. There is no stage, there is no audience. It's just you and him, and he is not asking you to be impressive. He is inviting you to be honest. You've carried enough today, his presence seems to say, even before he speaks out loud. You don't have to be strong right now. Those words settle over you like a blanket. You realize how long it's been since anyone told you that you don't have to be strong. Most days, it feels like everyone needs something from you. Your work, your family, your responsibilities, your own expectations of yourself. The world pulls at you from every side. More effort, more productivity, more improvement, more answers. And if you falter, even for a moment, you feel guilty, as if rest is a luxury you haven't earned. But Jesus doesn't sit beside you like a strict supervisor checking your work. He sits beside you like a friend who has walked through storms and valleys with you, who knows where you have been wounded, where you have been pushed, where you have been stretched too thin. In his eyes, there is no tally of your failures, no list of what you should have done better. In his eyes, there is only this: you are loved. Right here, exactly as you are. Tired, uneven, still in process, still healing, still learning, and still so deeply loved. The fire cracks and a small ember rises, glows and fades into the night. Above you, the sky is wide and dark, sprinkled with stars like quiet promises. You listen to the stillness. You are not used to this much quiet. You are used to notifications, noise, background sound, the endless hum of life. But here, the loudest thing is the steady burn of the fire and the nearly inaudible sound of your own breathing slowing down. Jesus turns his face slightly toward you. "You can rest now," he whispers, not necessarily out loud, but deep inside where your soul hears him. "You're safe here." Safe. You let that word sink in. Safe from what people think. Safe from the pressure to perform. Safe from the constant measuring of your worth against your achievements. Safe from the voice that says you are too much and the one that says you are not enough. Safe from the fear that if you ever stop holding everything up, your life will collapse. As you sit there, you realize that your exhaustion is not only physical. Yes, your body is tired, from work, from responsibilities, from long days and short nights, but your heart is tired too. Your mind is tired. Tired of rehearsing every conversation, tired of worrying about tomorrow, tired of trying to keep all the plates spinning. There is a deeper kind of weariness inside you, an ache that can't be fixed by just one more hour of sleep or one more day off. Jesus knows that too. He knows the weariness that doesn't show up in blood, tests, or on calendars. He knows the places in your story that make you want to look away, the memories that pinch your heart, the disappointments that made you quietly stop expecting good things. He knows the parts of your life you almost never bring up in prayer because you're not sure what to say anymore. He knows the secrets you carry, the fears you hide, the regrets you try to bury under busyness. He leans a little closer, not to interrogate you, but to reassure you. You don't have to hide those here, his silence seems to say. Not tonight, not with me. You stare into the fire, watching the flames curl around the wood, turning solid pieces into glowing embers. You think about how worn down you feel, how the day has burned through your strength, but somehow, sitting here, it doesn't feel like you're being consumed. It feels like you're being warmed. The same fire that could burn also comforts. The same God whose power shakes mountains also holds you gently like a fragile beloved's. You remember the words, "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." They come back to you, not as a verse you're supposed to recite perfectly, but as a promise gently laid in your hands. Jesus is not impatient with your tiredness. He understands it. He's not offended by your weakness. He came for it. He doesn't expect you to arrive at this fire full of energy and perfect faith. He welcomes you exactly as you've come. Worn, heavy, maybe even a little numb. The crackling of the fire fills the pauses between your thoughts. There's something about just sitting here that begins to soften the hardness of your day. You may not even have the words to pray yet, but that's okay. Sometimes your presence is the prayer. Sometimes the most honest prayer you can offer is simply not running away. And tonight, you are here. You've come to the fire. You've come to the one who knows you. From the corner of your eye, you see Jesus watching you with that steady, gentle gaze. There is no hurry in him, no rush to fix you, no rushing to the end of the story. He seems perfectly content to sit through every silence, every sigh, every tear that might fall without words. He's not counting down the minutes. He's not wondering why you haven't moved on yet. His patience is wider than this whole night, deeper than your longest season of struggle. You don't have to be ready for tomorrow yet, his presence says. Right now, just be here, with me. You let that invitation sink in. Just be here, not fixing things, not planning, not worrying, not rehearsing old conversations or imagining new ones. Just being, just breathing, just letting yourself exist in the presence of someone who loves you more than you can understand. As you continue to sit by the fire, little fragments of the day float up in your mind like bits of ash carried on the wind. That moment when someone's words stung. The email that made your heart sink. The news you received that you still don't know how to process. The feeling of walking through your day with a brave face while inside you felt like you were dragging your heart behind you on a rope. You don't have to push those images away. You also don't have to chase them. You can just notice them and let them drift past in the light of the fire. Jesus doesn't flinch at any of it. He isn't surprised by your pain or your confusion or your anger or your sadness. He isn't shocked by your questions or your doubts. He doesn't pull away from any part of your story. If anything, you sense that when your heart aches, he moves even closer. There is a gentle curiosity in his eyes, as if he is not only seeing your exhaustion, but also the deeper story behind it. Not in a clinical way, like a cold observer analyzing you, but in a loving way, like someone who has read every chapter of your life and still wants to keep reading. He knows there are things you haven't told anyone, things you've barely admitted to yourself. He knows how some of your past nights have gone, how you've lain awake staring at the ceiling, feeling alone even with people close by, wondering if anyone truly understands the weight you carry. Tonight will be different. Not because all your circumstances will magically change in one moment, but because tonight you are not alone in them. Tonight you are by the fire with Jesus, and he is not going anywhere. The warmth reaches your hands more deeply now. You stretch your fingers out toward the fire, and as you do, it feels like you are stretching something in your heart toward him as well. You might not have a beautiful, polished prayer to offer, but you have this simple movement, reaching. It's enough. You feel him meet you there, in the small willingness of your soul to turn toward him again. Lord, you whisper inside, maybe barely moving your lips, I'm so tired. You don't dress it up. You don't soften it. You just say it as it is. And he receives it, not as a complaint, but as a confession of trust. You are admitting your limits in the presence of the one who has none. You are letting yourself be human in the presence of the one who became human for you. He nods, as if he has been waiting for you to say those words. His eyes are full of compassion, the kind that doesn't shame you for being tired, but honors it. He knows how far you've come. He knows how many times you kept going when you wanted to give up. He knows the battles you fought that no one clapped for, the faithful choices you made when no one was watching. You've done enough for today, his gaze seems to say. You can lay it down now. You feel something ease inside you, just a little. The endless list in your mind, the one that scrolls with tasks, responsibilities, unresolved tensions, and what-ifs, slows down. For once, your worth is not being measured against that list. Here, by the fire, your worth is measured by something far greater, the fact that you belong to him, the fact that he went to the cross for you, the fact that he calls you beloved, not because you performed well, but because his love is who he is. Your eyelids feel heavier now, not with despair, but with the permission to rest. There is no pressure in this place. If you want to talk, you can talk. If you want to sit in silence, you can sit in silence. If you want to cry, the tears are safe here. If no tears come and you just feel numb, even that is safe here too. Jesus isn't measuring your responses. He is simply glad you came. The night air is cool, but every time the wind brushes past, the fire answers with a fresh wave of warmth. In the same way, every time your mind starts to wander, to worry, you feel a quiet reassurance in your spirit pulling you back. You're here with me. I've got you. The worries don't have to vanish all at once. They just don't have to be in charge of you tonight. Somewhere deep inside, you know this. The one who holds the stars in place is holding this moment with you. The one who calms the storms is not afraid of the storm inside your thoughts. The one who walked through Gethsemane, sweating drops of blood in anguish, understands what heavy nights feel like. You are not sitting beside a distant, untouched God. You are sitting beside the Savior who has felt pain, pressure and exhaustion, and yet loves you from within that understanding. You take another breath, slower this time. In, out, in, out. With each breath, you picture yourself releasing just a little more of the day, a little more of the tension wrapped around your heart. You don't have to drop everything at once. You can lay it down piece by piece, breath by breath, as the night goes on. Jesus is patient enough for that. There is no rush. As you rest in the glow of the fire, you sense something else stirring, gentle but real. Hope. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, like an ember that refuses to go out. You may not feel strong, but somewhere beneath the weariness, you sense that you are not abandoned. You sense that this night is not just another exhausted collapse into sleep. This night is different. This night is holy. This night is a meeting place between your tired heart and the love of God. You don't know everything He will touch tonight. You don't know which memories He will gently bring to the surface, which fears He will speak into, which lies He will quietly begin to untangle, but you feel that something is beginning. You feel that this time with Him by the fire is the start of a deeper healing, even if you can't put words to it yet. There are parts of your story you've pushed down, fears you've pushed aside, regrets you've buried, but Jesus is not afraid of any of them. He is not here to shame you for them. He is here to meet you in them. For now, though, He asks nothing more from you than this. Be here. Breathe. Let Him sit beside you. Let this fire warm the parts of you that have been cold for far too long. Let yourself be the one who is cared for, instead of always being the one who cares for everyone else. Tonight, you are allowed to be small in the arms of a big God. You are allowed to rest by the fire with Jesus and let His peace, not your performance, define the night. You are allowed to stop holding everything together and simply let yourself be held. The flames dance, the night deepens, and His presence does not fade. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not too much, and you are not enough. You are simply His. And as you sit here, exhausted but seen, weary but wanted, you begin to realize this is what your soul has been longing for all along. Jesus watches you quietly for a while, the way someone does when they can tell your soul is still running, even though your body has finally sat down. The fire between you is steady now. Not too bright, not too dim. Its glow wrapping you both in a gentle circle of light. For a moment, it almost feels like enough just to sit here, to feel warmth on your skin and His presence beside you. But He knows that inside you, the day hasn't finished. Your thoughts are still moving. Your heart is still carrying more than it can hold. He turns a little more toward you, and when He speaks, His voice is soft, almost like the fire itself, calm, warm, unhurried. You came here heavy, He says, not accusing you, just naming what is true. Let's not pretend you arrived empty-handed. You glance down at your own hands, and in your mind's eye, you begin to see it. You weren't just walking toward this fire. You were dragging the whole day behind you. The conversations, the tasks, the worries, the unfinished to-do list, the mistakes that keep replaying, the message you still haven't answered, the tone in someone's voice that cut deeper than they realized, all of it clinging to you like bags slung over your shoulders, weights strapped to your back. Jesus doesn't rush you. He lets the picture sharpen. I see it, He says gently. All of it. You don't have to keep pretending it's light. Slowly, He stretches out His hand, not to snatch anything away, but to invite you into something different. Picture it, His presence whispers. Everything you carried today, hold it in your hands. You close your eyes for a moment and do what He says. In your imagination, you reach behind you and unhook the straps of a heavy backpack, the kind so full it digs into your shoulders. You slide it off and set it in front of you on the ground. Then you notice more. Smaller weights tucked into your pockets. Extra bags hanging from your arms, tiny stones in your shoes that have made every step just a little more painful. One by one, you bring them into view. He nods as if to say, "Yes, that. Bring that here too. Name it," he says quietly. "Name what you carried." Your mind flickers back through the hours. That one thing you've been worrying about for weeks. Name it. The pressure about money. Name it. The difficult relationship that feels like walking on glass. Name it. The decisions you still haven't made, the ones that feel too big for you. Name them. The health fear that sits in the back of your mind. Name it. The exhaustion of always being the strong one. Name it. The fear that if you stop, everything will fall apart. Name it. As you do, something begins to shift. The more honestly you name what you've carried, the more clearly you can see it. These are not vague shadows anymore. They're real weights. They sit in front of you in the firelight, each one with a shape, a color, a size. Some are big and obvious, others are small and sharp, but none of them are invisible now. Jesus' eyes follow each burden as it appears. There is no surprise in his face, only understanding. He knew every bit of it long before you put words to it, but he still loves hearing you say it. Not because he doesn't know, but because your heart opens when you stop hiding and your fingers begin to loosen their grip. "Now," he says gently, "put them down." You hesitate. It feels strange. These weights have been with you so long that in a way they've started to feel like part of you. Worry has become a habit. Stress has become a rhythm. Overthinking has become a kind of background noise. But Jesus is here, and tonight is different. He isn't asking you to deny your reality. He's asking you to stop carrying it alone. You take one of the burdens, maybe the simplest one, the one closest to the surface. You picture yourself lifting it, feeling its heaviness, acknowledging it, and then, very simply, you place it at his feet in the circle of light between you and the fire. "Put it down," he says, his voice full of kindness. "You weren't meant to sleep while still clutching it." You exhale, realizing you've been holding your breath. Something gives way inside you. That one burden isn't gone from the world, but it's no longer pressed into your chest. It's not wrapped around your fingers. It's not strapped to your back. It's there, before him, in his presence, under his eyes, in his hands. You reach for another. This one is heavier. Maybe it's a failure. From today, or from years ago, that keeps coming back. The words you said that you wish you could unsay. The thing you didn't do. The time you walked away when you wish you had stayed. The moment you weren't there. You pick it up, even though part of you wants to hide it behind your back. Jesus doesn't look away. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't scold you for still remembering. If anything, his eyes grow even softer. "Bring that here too," he whispers. "I already carried your shame on the cross. You don't need to cradle it in your arms." Your throat tightens a little as you set that burden down beside the first one. There is room for it. There is room for all of it. Somehow, the ground in front of him is never too small for what you carry. Around you, the night is still. The only sounds are the crackling of the fire, the quiet whisper of the wind, and your own breathing, slowly beginning to match a calmer rhythm. Inside, though, there is motion. Every time you name something and place it down, you feel a tiny release. It isn't dramatic, but it's real. Something that's been clenched tight for a long time is beginning to loosen. Then you pick up your worries about tomorrow. The questions that keep circling. What if this doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I'm alone? What if I'm not enough? You hold them in your hands and feel how jagged they are, how they poke at your peace every time you try to rest. Then, one by one, you lay them at his feet. Somewhere inside, the words of the psalm rise. "Truly my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from him. He is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, I will not be shaken." Your soul might not fully feel that yet, but you're practicing it with your body, lifting, naming, letting go, even before the feelings catch up. Next come the smaller, constant tensions, the unfinished emails, the tasks you didn't cross off, the sense of never quite catching up, the quiet inner voice that tells you you should have done more today, been better, been more patient, more spiritual, more productive, more everything. You realize that voice has sat on your shoulders like another pack. You take it off, you lay it down. You're not the sum of your unchecked boxes, Jesus would tell you. You're not your performance. You're mine. You think about the people who hurt you, the words that replay, the look that made you feel small, the moment you felt left out, ignored, misunderstood. Part of you has been trying to shrug it off, telling yourself it wasn't a big deal, but your heart knows it mattered. The psalmist's words echo your own. I pour out before him my complaint. Before him I tell my trouble. And that is what you're doing now. Not stuffing it down where it festers, but bringing it into the light. Quietly, maybe only inside, you say, Lord, this hurt me. As you say it, you take that memory, that wound, that unresolved tension, and add it to the growing pile beside the fire. You don't have to fix it tonight. You just don't have to sleep with it clutched to your chest like a stone. Some burdens aren't sharp, they're knotted. The fear of people's opinions, for example. The way your heart rises and falls based on a comment, a reaction, a silent reply. You see how much of your day has been shaped by what others might think, what you said, what you wore, what you posted, what you didn't say. It's like a net around your soul. Jesus sees that too. You were never meant to be held captive by their approval, his presence says. You are already fully known and fully loved by me. You picture that net in your hands, the constant need to be liked, understood, respected, noticed. It feels too tangled to ever pull apart, but he doesn't ask you to sort it out by yourself. He asks you to hand it over. So you do. You lay that net down too. The moment you do, you feel how much lighter your chest is without it. The pile beside the fire grows. Worries, regrets, responsibilities you can't control, fears you've never really named. You might start to wonder if it's too much, if you're giving him more than he wants. But every time you hesitate, you sense that same quiet reassurance. Cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. Not some of them, all of them. After a while, you notice your hands. They look different now. When you first came to the fire, they were tight fists, curled around invisible weights. Now they are open, empty, yes, but not in a scary way, in a free way. Open hands can receive. Open hands can rest. You take a deeper breath and feel it reach places it couldn't before, as if there's finally room inside your chest. Without all those weights pressing in, your heart has space again. Jesus looks at the pile, then back at you. There is no frustration on his face that you had so much to lay down. If anything, he seems relieved. This is what he's wanted for you all along, this surrender, this honesty, this trust. You were never meant to carry this alone, he says softly. I don't ask you to ignore your life. I invite you to let me hold it with you. You look at the pile, memories, fears, tasks, what-ifs, and for the first time, you notice something important. It is not between you and him. It's beside you. You haven't stacked your burdens into a wall that blocks his face. You've placed them to the side, where he can reach them, sort them, redeem them in his time. Between you and Jesus there is now only open space, cleared ground, and the warm light of the fire. In that space, something else begins to stir, a quiet curiosity. If this is what it feels like to lay down just one day's worth of weight, what might it feel like when he begins to touch the deeper roots? The old stories you've been telling yourself for years. The shame that whispers you are never enough. The fear that you are always one mistake away from losing everything and everyone. For tonight, he doesn't drag you there. He is content to start with what you carried today. But somewhere inside, you sense his gentle intention. These things you've laid down, the worries, the pressures, the painful words, are not random. They are connected to deeper beliefs and older wounds. He loves you too much to leave those untouched forever. Later, in this night, he will put his hand on those roots. He will speak into the parts of you that believe you're only loved when you're useful, only safe when you're perfect, only valuable when you're strong. But he will lead you there slowly, at the pace your heart can bear. Right now, he smiles at you with such tenderness that it almost aches. For tonight, his eyes seem to say, "This is enough. You came and you laid it down." You glance again at the pile. It no longer looks like proof that you're weak. It looks like proof that you trust him. Every burden sitting there is a small act of faith. I don't have to hold this by myself. I'm allowed to put this in his hands. The night deepens. The stars overhead seem a little brighter. Your body sinks a little heavier into the ground, as if the earth itself is willing to help carry your weight. You're still aware that your responsibilities exist. You know tomorrow will have its own set of challenges. But something has changed. They're no longer pressed into your bones. They're in front of him, in the light. "Rest," he whispers. "You can rest more easily when your hands are empty." You let your eyes close for a moment, just to feel what that rest might be like. Your heart is quieter. Your thoughts are fewer. The noise inside has faded to a soft, distant hum. Jesus is near. The fire is warm. The pile is laid down, and somewhere in the quiet of your soul, a simple truth settles in like a gentle refrain. You were never meant to sleep while still clutching what is breaking you. You were meant to place it in the hands of the one who never sleeps, who watches, who listens, who loves you, and who holds you even as you let go. And tonight, here by the fire, you are beginning to do exactly that. There are nights when your body is exhausted, but your mind refuses to believe it. Tonight feels like one of those nights. You've laid down the burdens of the day as best you can. You've pictured them at Jesus' feet, in that growing pile beside the fire. Your hands are more open now, your shoulders a little lighter. But as the night deepens, another kind of weight rises, one that doesn't live in your muscles, but in your thoughts. You sit there in the firelight and notice it beginning again. It starts quietly, almost gently. A memory from earlier today, a sentence someone said, a look someone gave you. At first it's small, like a faint cloud high in the sky, but then it shifts. Your mind circles back to it. You replay the moment once, twice, 3 times. What you said, what you should have said, what you wish you hadn't said at all. Within seconds, you're far away from the warmth of the fire, lost inside a scene that ended hours ago. Above you, in your imagination, the sky begins to change. The stars you noticed earlier are now hidden behind darkening clouds. Your thoughts flicker like distant lightning, sharp, bright, sudden. You see flashes of the past, moments you regret, conversations that still sting, times you felt rejected, humiliated, small. They light up your mind for a second, then vanish, only to return again, over and over. You shift a little where you sit. Part of you is frustrated with yourself. Why am I thinking about this again? Why can't I just relax? Why can't I let it go? Another part of you is quietly afraid. You've been here before, on nights when one thought turned into a storm that went on for hours. Jesus doesn't move away as the sky in your mind darkens. If anything, you sense him lean a fraction closer. He sees the way your gaze drifts from the fire, the way your shoulders tense again, the way your breathing becomes shallow. He knows exactly where you've gone in your thoughts. He knows the storm as well as you do. "Look up," he whispers gently. You do, and in your inner world, you see it. A stormy sky stretching above you, thick clouds rolling, restless, lightning flashes of memory, old embarrassments, sharp words, unfinished conflicts cut through the darkness in brief, painful scenes. Thunder rumbles like accusations. You handled that badly. They're disappointed in you. You're always like this. You'll never change. The wind of what if begins to stir. What if they misunderstood? What if tomorrow goes wrong? What if I lose what I love? What if I fail? Your mind feels like a sea in a storm. Waves of thoughts crash against each other. Past, present, future, all tangled into one loud, chaotic noise. You're sitting by the fire with Jesus, but inside it feels like you're standing on the deck of a small boat, tossed by wind and waves you can't control. You glance at him, almost ashamed. "My mind won't stop," you whisper inside. "Even when I try to rest, it keeps going." He nods, as if this confession doesn't surprise him at all. "I know," his presence seems to answer. "I've been listening to every thought, even the ones you wish you didn't have." There is no irritation in his eyes, no hint of, "Aren't you over this yet?" Instead, there is understanding, deep, patient understanding. He knows that some storms are not chosen. They come uninvited, rising from old wounds, old fears, old disappointments. He knows that sometimes your thoughts spin not because you don't trust him, but because you are scared, and your mind has learned to brace for every possible blow. "Come here," he whispers. Not with his hands this time, but with his voice inside the storm. You close your eyes and imagine it differently. Instead of being alone in that small boat on rough water, you see him there too. He steps into the storm of your thoughts, not to stand safely on the shore and shout instructions, but to be in it with you. The same Jesus who once stood in a real boat on a real sea and spoke to real waves now stands in the sea of your mind. "Lord," you think, "I can't make this stop. It just keeps going." He doesn't tell you to try harder. He doesn't demand that you force your mind to be quiet in your own strength. Instead, he invites you to be honest with him about what's swirling inside. "Tell me," he says softly, "what are the thoughts that come back again and again?" You take a breath and begin to name them, the way you named your burdens before. But this time, you name thoughts instead of tasks. You tell him about the conversation you keep replaying and the fear that someone is angry with you. You tell him about the worst-case scenarios that your mind runs like a movie: disaster, loss, failure, loneliness. You tell him about the intrusive thoughts that show up out of nowhere, the ones that make you feel guilty and frightened simply for having them. Every time you name one, it's like another flash of lightning in the sky. But this time, Jesus doesn't let the flash disappear into the dark. He reaches up, takes hold of it with his hand, and brings it into the light of the fire. "Look at this with me," he says. "Don't stare at it alone in the dark. Let's look at it together." Some of the thoughts, when you see them in his light, look smaller than they felt before. Others are still big, still loud, still painful, but now they are not swirling around you, hitting you from all sides. They are in front of him, where he can speak to them. So many voices, you think. I don't even know which ones are true anymore. He nods. "There are many voices," he agrees, "but mine is the one that leads you to peace, not panic. My voice may correct you, but it never confuses you. It may convict you, but it never condemns you. It may call you higher, but it never crushes you." Slowly, his words begin to move through the noise like a gentle, steady wind. You remember, "I lie down and sleep. I wake again, because the Lord sustains me. I will not fear, though tens of thousands assail me on every side." Those words feel strangely close to your experience. Those tens of thousands can feel like thoughts, can't they? Thoughts of fear, failure, regret. What if? What then? Yet the psalmist says, "I lie down and sleep." Not because there were no enemies, but because God was there. "I know your thoughts feel like attackers," Jesus says gently. but I am a shield around you, not just around your body, around your mind. You picture it, Jesus standing between you and the storm, his presence a shield. Wind and rain may still hit, but they do not define you. Lightning may flash, but it doesn't tell you who you are. Thunder may rumble, but it cannot drown out his voice unless you believe it over him. Quietly, he begins to walk through some of the thoughts with you, that harsh thought that says, "You're a failure." He takes it in his hand, looks at you and says, "No, you are mine. You may have made mistakes, but I do not call you failure." That anxious thought that says, "Tomorrow is going to fall apart and you won't handle it." He answers, "Even if tomorrow brings storms, I will be with you in all of them. You don't enter a single hour without me." That shame-filled thought that says, "If people really knew you, they'd walk away." He meets with, "I know you completely, and I have not walked away. I walk toward you, all the way to the cross, all the way to this fire." You feel your mind begin to slow, just a little, as his words land like steady drops of rain on overheated ground. The storm doesn't disappear in an instant, but it begins to change shape. What once felt like an endless swirl of chaotic thoughts now feels more like waves that rise and fall while a stronger presence stands above them. "The Lord is my shepherd," you remember, faintly. "I lack nothing." You whisper the rest inside. "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul." Tonight, those quiet waters are not a distant image. They are here, in the way he sits with you in the noise and refuses to leave. He makes me lie down, you notice. Sometimes rest doesn't come because you decided to be strong. Sometimes rest comes because he, in his mercy, leads you gently to it. Even when your mind is loud, he is working to quiet it, not by force, but by love. Your eyes are still open, watching the fire, but slowly, inside, it feels like the sky above you is changing. The clouds are still there, but they are no longer racing so fast. The lightning is less frequent. The thunder is softer. It's not silence yet, but it's not chaos either. Jesus shifts his gaze from the pile of your thoughts back to your face. "You don't have to win the fight in your mind by yourself," he says. "Your job is not to control every thought. Your invitation is to bring them to me again and again, as many times as needed." You think of the psalmist crying out evening, morning, and noon, not once, but repeatedly, and being heard each time. You think of the line, "When you are on your beds, search your hearts and be silent." Tonight, that searching isn't done with harsh scrutiny, but with him beside you. You are not examining your thoughts like a judge. You are opening them up like a child sitting with a father, saying, "This is what's inside me. Can you help?" And he can. And he does. You may still feel a pattern there, a tendency to overthink, to replay, to catastrophize. That's okay. He isn't surprised. He knows that some of these patterns come from deep places. Old wounds where you felt blindsided, seasons where you had to stay alert to survive, moments when things did fall apart, and your heart learned to assume they always would. He knows that your mind's constant scanning for danger is not just stubbornness. It's a sign that your heart has been hurt and is trying, in its own way, to protect you. He sees beyond the surface noise to the hidden fears and unspoken heartbreaks underneath. The fear of being abandoned, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being blindsided again, the heartbreaks you moved past on the outside but still carry on the inside. He doesn't accuse you for the storm. He has compassion on you in it. "We'll go there," he promises quietly. "We'll go deeper than the thoughts themselves. We'll touch the places they come from, not all at once, not in a way that overwhelms you, but I will not leave those places untouched forever. I love you too much for that." For now, though, he draws you back to something simple. "Tonight," he says, "you are allowed to rest even if your mind is not perfectly quiet. You are allowed to lie down and sleep, not because you've earned peace by clearing your thoughts, but because I am your peace. I am the one who makes you dwell in safety. You breathe out, slowly. That takes the pressure off. You've often believed that you could only rest once your mind stopped spinning, as if sleep were a prize you win by doing everything right. But tonight, Jesus offers you something different. Rest as a gift, even in the middle of ongoing noise. Your thoughts may still rise and fall like waves, but you are not in them alone. You picture it again. Your head resting near the fire, the shepherd beside you with his rod and his staff. They are not props, they are protection. His rod defends against what attacks. His staff draws you back when you wander. Even in the darkest valley, even in the storm, he is there. And that is why you can say, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. You look at him one more time before letting your eyes drift toward the edge of sleep. There is no hint of frustration in his face, only patience, only care, only a deep, steady love that has no intention of letting you go, no matter what your thoughts do. Let your mind do what it will for a while. His presence seems to say, every time a thought rises, you can hand it to me, again and again. You are not failing when you do this. You are trusting. The storm inside may not be completely silent yet, but tonight you are learning that the most important thing is not the storm. It is the one who sits with you in it, speaks into it, and will, little by little, lead you to a quieter, deeper peace than you've known before. And as this night goes on, and in the nights to come, he will not only calm the waves on the surface, he will begin to reach down to the depths, to those hidden fears and quiet heartbreaks that have been feeding the noise for years. And with the same gentleness he shows you now, he will begin to heal them too. The fear doesn't always shout. Sometimes it walks beside you quietly, the way shadows stretch across the ground when the sun begins to disappear. You've given God your worries for the day as best you can. You've tried to hand him your spinning thoughts, but when the night grows deeper and the world around you gets quieter, something else steps forward from inside you. Fear, not just the little flutter of nervousness before a meeting or a conversation, but that deeper ache. The fear of losing everything, the fear that something bad is waiting for you just out of sight. The fear that if you ever truly relax, the worst will finally happen. You feel it most in the dark. When there is less to distract you, less noise to drown it out, fear feels louder. You think about the people you love, and suddenly your chest tightens with images of what could go wrong. You think about your future, and instead of pictures of hope, your mind shows you scenes of collapse, disappointment, long, lonely roads. You think about your own body and wonder what might be happening beneath the surface, unseen. In the quiet, every small possibility can feel like a looming certainty. Jesus watches you notice this shift. You are still by the fire, still in that circle of warmth with him, but inside you, it feels like the air has cooled again. The crackle of the flames is steady, yet something in you has started to shiver. The pile of burdens you placed at his feet is still there, but fear is different. It's not just about specific tasks or problems. It's about what could happen next, about the things you can't control, about the questions that don't have simple answers. He doesn't dismiss it. He doesn't tell you, just have more faith, and wave it away as if it were trivial. He knows that some of this fear comes from real losses and real pain. He knows you've had nights where the phone rang and life changed. He knows you've had seasons where the thing you never thought you'd face actually happened. He knows there are wounds in you that still flinch at every echo of past pain. You look out beyond the fire in your mind, and the scene changes. It's no longer just a clearing with a warm glow. The fire becomes a point of light inside a vast, shadowed valley. The ground slopes downward into darkness, where the path disappears from view. The sky is heavy, and the shapes of rocks and trees are only faint outlines. This is what your inside world feels like when fear rises. A valley where you can't see what's ahead, only sense the depth of whatever might be hiding in the dark. Your first instinct is to brace yourself, to stand alone on the edge of that path and try to scan every shadow. Your heart steps forward with a message you've learned from difficult days. Be ready for anything. Don't be caught off guard again. So you tense up, your muscles tighten, your breathing shortens, your mind starts running through checklists. How would I handle it if this person got sick? What would I do if I lost this job? How would I survive if this relationship ended? Who would I be if what I'm afraid of actually happened? The fear of losing everything sits heavy on your chest. You've worked so hard just to get where you are, and some part of you is always waiting for the moment it all slips away. You picture yourself alone, starting from nothing, trying to rebuild and not knowing if you can. There is a sense that your life is always one step away from collapse, that you must hold it together or it will all fall apart. Jesus sees all of that. He doesn't stand back at the fire while you stare into the valley alone. In your mind, you feel him rise to his feet beside you. You look over and see that he is not empty-handed. In one hand, he holds a staff, tall and steady. In the other, a rod, strong and solid. He's not panicked. He's not pacing. He's not scanning the horizon in fear the way you are. His eyes know the valley well, but there is no alarm in them. He steps to your side and quietly positions himself just a little in front of you, as if to say, if anything comes from that darkness, it has to get through me first. You think about the words you've heard before. Even if you walk through the darkest valley, you do not have to fear evil because he is with you. Tonight, those words are not on a page. They are a person standing by your side. The valley is real. The darkness is real. The possibilities that scare you are not made up, but neither is he. He is as real in this moment as the fear that tightens your chest. He turns to you, and his voice is gentle but firm. You're not walking into this valley alone, he says. You never were. You swallow hard, because part of you feels like you have always had to walk alone, always had to be ready, always had to hold yourself up when everything was shaking. You remember nights when you didn't feel him there, when it seemed like your prayers bounced off the ceiling, when fear wrapped around you like a second skin. Maybe part of you has quietly decided that you are on your own, even as you speak words of faith. He knows that too. He doesn't condemn you for it. He understands that fear often builds its home in the gaps of your experience, where something hurt and you didn't understand why, where you called out and the answer took longer than your heart thought it could bear. Fear moved in like a permanent guest, rearranging the furniture in your mind, telling you, always be ready for the worst. You're the only one who can really protect yourself. Jesus looks past your surface reaction and into that deeper story. Fear has been a loud teacher in your life, he seems to say, but it has not told you the truth about me. You feel a lump in your throat. Fear has told you that if you ever truly relax, something terrible will happen. It has told you that if you don't keep anticipating every possible loss, you'll be blindsided again. It has told you that God is always just a little disappointed with you, that he's waiting to see if you'll prove yourself worthy of protection. But tonight, standing beside you in the valley, Jesus says something different. My rod and my staff comfort you, he whispers into your fear. Not your constant bracing, not your sleepless watching, not your ability to predict what's coming. Me, my presence, my protection, my love. You look at his hands again. The rod is not for hitting you when you're afraid. It's to strike what hunts you in the dark. The staff is not to push you away. It's to pull you back when you wander into danger, to keep you close when the path is narrow. These are not the tools of a disappointed judge. They are the tools of a shepherd who intends for you to make it safely through the valley. You think about the fear of sickness, how sometimes a small symptom sends your mind spiraling into worst-case scenarios, how a story you hear about someone else's loss makes your heart race about your own life. In this valley, you imagine the shadows of illness moving at the edges of your vision. You can't control your body the way you wish you could. You can't see into the future of your health. That helplessness feels like a cliff edge. Jesus doesn't promise you a life where nothing ever touches your body. He doesn't lie and say you'll never face sickness or pain. He respects you too much to give you comfort built on illusions. But he does something better. He steps between you and the shadows and says, whatever touches you has to come through my love first. You will never face it abandoned. You will never face it alone. I will carry you when you can't walk. I will hold you when you're too weak to hold on to me. Then your thoughts shift to your family, to the people you love more than you can say. Fear spikes again. You can live with your own pain maybe, but the thought of something happening to them feels unbearable. You see them in the valley of your imagination, and suddenly you want to build walls around them, stand guard every second, never sleep again if that's what it takes to keep them safe. Jesus sees that ache in you, that fierce desire to protect. He doesn't mock it. He placed that love in you. But he knows its limits. You love them deeply, he acknowledges. But I love them even more. You can't be their shepherd. You were never meant to be. That's what I am. In the picture of the valley, you see him move. Not just to your side, but around those you love. The same rod and staff that protect you reach out over them. Where you cannot be present, he is. Where you do not know what will happen, he already stands in the middle of it. This doesn't erase every fear, but it changes the story. Their safety and their future do not rest on your anxious vigilance alone. They rest in the hands of one who neither slumbers nor sleeps. The fear of the future rises like a fog. You think of years ahead you cannot see, decisions you haven't made, paths you don't yet know. You wonder if you'll have enough, be enough, do enough. You wonder if you will still be loved, still be held, still be useful when the seasons of your life change. Jesus is not confused by the years you cannot picture. To him, none of your tomorrows are dark. He has already walked the length of your story. You don't have to stand on this ledge tonight and solve the next 10 years. You are allowed to take the next step with the shepherd who knows the way, trusting that he will meet you again on every new stretch of road. Beneath all these layers sits that deeper fear that God is disappointed in you, that he is quietly waiting for you to finally get it right. When something goes wrong, a small voice inside suggests, maybe this is your fault, maybe God is pulling away. Jesus answers that lie with his scars. In the valley you see his hands, the marks that say, I knew you completely, and I still chose you. You didn't drag him unwilling into your story. He stepped into it freely, knowing every weakness, every failure, every night like this one when fear would feel louder than faith. You don't walk through the dark to earn my protection, he says gently. You walk with me because I have already decided you are worth guarding. Fear has lived in you like a permanent guest, setting its furniture in rooms that belong to peace. Tonight is not the end of its eviction, but it is the beginning. For now, he simply stands between you and what hunts you in the dark, rod and staff in his hands, and lets you lean against him until your breathing slows. And as the night goes on, he will not only watch over what is outside you, but begin to knock on those inner doors where fear has lived for years, ready to turn even those spaces back into places of rest. There is a different kind of tired that sleep alone can't touch. It's the weariness that comes not from what you've done, but from what has been done to you. Tonight, as you sit by the fire with Jesus, another layer of your heart begins to surface. Not the burdens of busyness, not the noise of your thoughts, not even the fear of what might happen tomorrow, but the ache of what people have said and done. The nights you lay awake replaying their words. The moments you wished you could go back and defend yourself. The sting of realizing that someone you trusted did not protect you the way you hoped they would. You shift slightly where you sit. The fire is still warm, his presence still steady, but your heart feels sore in a deeper place. It's not just the stress of life. It's the bruises left by people. Sometimes strangers, sometimes acquaintances, sometimes people who knew you well enough to wound you where it hurt most. Jesus notices that shift in you. He always does. He can tell when the weight pressing on your shoulders is not just your own expectations, but the harsh verdicts of others. He can see when your head drops because of words that were spoken carelessly, or deliberately, or repeatedly, until they began to sound like truth. He can sense when you carry yourself as if someone is still watching and judging, even though they're no longer in the room. He doesn't force it, but he gently invites you there. Some of your tiredness, his presence seems to say, comes from battles you're still fighting on the inside, arguments long finished, but still echoing. Let's touch those too. You look into the fire, and without trying, old scenes begin to rise. You hear a voice that once said something sharp about you, something that cut deeper than the speaker probably knew. Maybe they questioned your motives. Maybe they twisted your words. Maybe they suggested that you were less than you are, less sincere, less worthy, less capable, less lovable. In the moment, you didn't know what to say back, but your heart heard every syllable. There were times you felt surrounded by people but still alone. Times when others drew conclusions about you without ever asking for your side. Times when gossip spread faster than truth. Times when someone you thought was for you repeated what you shared in confidence. Times when you felt like the psalmist. Ruthless witnesses come forward. They question me on things I know nothing about. They repay me evil for good and leave me like one in mourning. You may have tried to shrug it off. You may have told yourself to ignore it, to rise above it, to be the bigger person, and maybe you did your best. But late at night, when the world is quiet, those words can feel like they're written on the inside of your ribs, like every time you breathe, you brush against them again. Jesus doesn't tell you to minimize that pain. He doesn't say, "It wasn't that bad," when he knows it was. He doesn't rush to just forgive and move on, skipping the part where your heart needs to be seen and validated. He sits with you in that memory and acknowledges it first. "That hurt you," he affirms gently. "They should not have said that. They should not have done that. I saw every look. I heard every word." You feel tears prick at the corners of your eyes, maybe not on the outside, but definitely on the inside. You are so used to trying to explain yourself, to make others see your heart, to defend your motives. Sometimes you didn't say anything because you didn't know how. Sometimes you tried to explain and felt like your words bounced off a wall of assumptions. Either way, you walked away with the quiet belief, maybe they're right about me. Maybe I really am what they say. There is another voice too. Not just the ones from the past, but the one that has learned to imitate them, the inner accuser. It sounds like you, but it isn't from God. It replays criticisms. It exaggerates your flaws. It takes every mistake and says, "This is who you are." It takes every misunderstanding and says, "This is how people will always see you." It watches for your stumbling and whispers, "Everyone is noticing." The Psalms capture this so well. I have become like broken pottery. I hear many whispering, terror on every side. They conspire against me and plot to take my life. Maybe no one is literally plotting against you, but the feeling of being watched for failure can be just as exhausting. Of feeling like someone is always waiting for you to mess up, always ready to say, "See, I knew it." Jesus sees that too. He knows what it is to be falsely accused, to have his words twisted, to be misunderstood by crowds and even by his closest friends. He knows the loneliness of standing in the middle of lies and staying silent, trusting his Father to be his vindication. He knows what it's like to feel the sting of betrayal, kisses, and abandoned promises. Because he knows all that, his compassion for you in this place is deep. You sense him move, just slightly, as if adjusting his position. In your mind, you picture it, a circle around the fire, and beyond that circle, in the shadows, the shapes of those accusing voices, some with familiar faces, some faceless but heavy, some echoing from long ago. They hover at the edges, whispering, reminding, repeating. You don't even have to imagine words. You can feel the tone, critical, dismissive, mocking, suspicious. Without a word, Jesus stands up. He steps between you and those voices, not in an abstract spiritual way, but in the most literal picture your heart can understand. Where there was a direct line from them to you, there is now him, his back toward them, his face toward you, his body in the middle, his presence the dividing line. The whispers don't immediately stop. Accusations often don't go silent just because you wish they would. But now, every word has to pass through him before it reaches you. Every old memory, every harsh label, every inner shout of "you're not enough" encounters him first. You notice something else. The expression on his face as he looks at you is completely different from the expression of those voices. Where they carry suspicion, he carries tenderness. Where they speak from partial knowledge, he looks at you with full understanding. Where they are ready to condemn, he stands as your defender. "I know who you are," he tells you softly. "I know your heart. I know your intentions, even when your actions weren't perfect. I know the moments you tried, the times you apologized, the times you didn't know any better yet. I know the parts of the story no one else saw." You feel something in your chest loosen, just a little. For so long, you have felt like you had to constantly defend yourself, to prove that you're not what they said, to live every day like a rebuttal to their judgment. That pressure is exhausting. It turns every interaction into a test you can't afford to fail. It turns every human opinion into a verdict over your worth. But here, by this fire, Jesus offers you another way, to let him be the one who stands between you and the accuser. He does not deny when you've sinned. He doesn't pretend you've never made a mistake. He isn't here to flatter you with empty comfort, but he is here to say, every sin, every failure, every real reason for accusation, I took it to the cross. No charge against you has the right to decide your identity anymore. I have spoken a better word over you. You think of the psalmist crying, "Contend, Lord, with those who contend with me. Fight against those who fight against me." Tonight, those words take form. Jesus himself contends on your behalf, not by shouting insults back into the dark, but by standing, solid and unshakable in front of you, refusing to step aside. Some of the voices that shaped you might be from childhood, a parent, a teacher, a friend who spoke words you were too young to filter. Others may have been spiritual voices misusing God's name, suggesting that he is as harsh and unpredictable as they were. Others may come from your own mistakes and the way people reacted to them, freezing you in their version of your worst moment. Jesus doesn't rush you to forgive before he has held your pain. He knows that forgiving is not pretending it didn't hurt. It's not saying it was okay. It's not inviting people to keep hurting you. Forgiveness is something he will walk you into, gently, in his timing. For tonight, his first act is not to ask something from you, but to do something for you. To stand, to shield, to say, enough. No more of this gets to define you. As you sit looking up at him, you begin to realize some of the harshest voices haven't come from other people at all. They've come from inside. You've picked up the words of others and repeated them to yourself. You've taken the role of your own accuser, criticizing yourself in tones you would never use on a friend. You've said things to your own soul that he would never say to you. He notices that too, and he steps between you and that inner accuser as well. "Those words are not from me," he says firmly. "I do not speak to my children with contempt. I correct, yes. I refine, yes. But I never belittle. I never mock. I never roll my eyes at your weakness." You feel a mixture of relief and sadness at that. Relief, because something in you always hoped that God could not truly be as harsh as the voice in your head. Sadness, because you realize how long you've carried that confusion, thinking that to be hard on yourself was somehow holy. He doesn't condemn you for believing that. He understands why you did. People taught you in words and actions that love must be earned, that affection can be lost, that approval is fragile. But his love is not like that. It is not made of glass. It is not withdrawn every time you trip. He kneels a little in front of you now, bringing his eyes level with yours. "Listen to me," he says quietly. "What they said about you is not the final word. What your own fear says about you is not the final word. I am the one who has the final word over you." You sense there is more he wants to say. Words about who you are to him. Words about being chosen, beloved, held, delighted in. Words that would sound almost too kind to believe after everything you've heard and told yourself. But he doesn't rush them all at once. He knows your heart might not be ready to receive all of that right now, so he plants the promise. We will go there. We will talk about who you really are. We will replace the old labels with my truth. For now, he simply stays where he is, between you and the shadows, between you and the accusing voices, between you and the weight of every misunderstanding and betrayal. The psalmist's words ring true. You are my rock and my fortress. You hide me in the shelter of your presence from all human intrigues. You keep me safe from accusing tongues. Tonight, that shelter is not a place you have to find. It is a person who has found you. The room of your heart that once belonged to bitterness begins to feel different. You may not be ready to bless those who hurt you. You may still feel anger, sadness, confusion. That's okay. Jesus isn't asking you to feel what you don't feel yet. He is asking you to let him stand here with you in the mess of it. To trust that he is not only able to defend your heart from the old accusations, but also able in time to heal the wounds they left. You lean back slightly, feeling how safe this posture can be when someone strong is in front of you. You're allowed to stop explaining yourself tonight. You're allowed to stop rehearsing what you wish you had said. You're allowed to stop bracing for the next misunderstanding. You're allowed to rest in the reality that someone has taken on the role of defense in the courtroom of your life. And it is not you. As the fire hums softly and the night stretches on, you sense something new rising, faint but real. The possibility that the story of your life does not have to be written in the ink of other people's words. That there is another voice, kinder and truer, speaking over you. A voice that will, as this night continues, and in many nights to come, begin to name you in ways that heal rather than haunt. And while part of you wonders if you could ever really believe that, another part, small but stubborn, whispers back, maybe. Maybe one day, maybe, with him standing between you and every accusing tongue, you will finally hear the name he's been calling you all along. There is a quiet voice that waits until everything else slows down before it speaks. You've laid down your burdens as best as you can. You've tried to hand your spinning thoughts to Jesus. You've watched him stand between you and the accusing voices of others. The fire is still warm, the night is still wrapped around you, and for a moment you think maybe you can finally rest. And then that other voice clears its throat. It doesn't sound like a stranger. It sounds like you. It uses your tone, your memories, your standards. It doesn't have to shout because it knows exactly where to whisper. Why, it begins. Are you still struggling with this? The question lands inside you like a stone dropped into deep water. All at once, your mind begins pulling up old patterns, familiar weaknesses, habits you thought you'd have outgrown by now. The ways you still react when you're stressed. The insecurities that come back even after you thought you dealt with them. The sins you hate and yet still feel pulled toward. The moments in your day when you felt petty, impatient, jealous, selfish, and the way afterward you thought, really? Still? After all this time? The voice doesn't stop there. Other people are further, it suggests. It shows you a highlight reel of others' progress. People who seem more disciplined, more spiritual, more healed, more put together. People who seem to have left their old struggles behind while you still feel like you're circling the same mountain. The voice is skilled at comparison. It takes little glimpses of others' lives and turns them into evidence against you. Look how mature they are. Look how confident they are. Look how steady their faith seems. Look how far they've come. And you? You're still dealing with this, still feeling this, still wrestling here. Underneath all of that, another sentence waits, heavy and unspoken. God must be tired of you. You don't say it out loud, but it sits there in the background of your mind, the sense that maybe he's disappointed, maybe he's patient, but only just. Maybe you've used up a lot of grace already. Maybe he's looking at you thinking, you should be over this by now. You should be further. As these thoughts gather, it feels like something has settled over your shoulders. You can almost feel the weight of it. A cloak of shame, thick and heavy, draped over you without asking. It's not just that you did something wrong. It's that shame whispers that you are something wrong. Not just you messed up, but you are a mess. Not only you sinned, but you are fundamentally flawed, defective, behind. The cloak presses down on your chest when you try to breathe deeply. It clings to your arms when you think about reaching toward God. It wraps around your mind when you consider the future. Shame tells you that no matter what you do, this is who you are, a disappointment, a slow learner, the one who never quite reaches where they should be. You sit by the fire with that cloak on, feeling its weight, feeling the way it makes you want to shrink, to hide your face even from him. Part of you thinks, if I really let Jesus see all of me, how long I've struggled, how slow I am to trust, how often I circle back to the same fears, surely he would be tired too. Jesus has been watching all of this. He saw it the moment that voice began whispering. He saw the cloak of shame slide over your shoulders. He saw the way your posture changed, not just physically, but inwardly. He saw your gaze drop to the ground, how your thoughts turned inward, how your heart retreated a little behind the old belief. I should be further by now. He doesn't ignore it. He doesn't pretend he didn't notice. And he doesn't join in. He shifts beside you and leans forward slightly, looking at you with eyes that see everything and yet don't flinch. You're heavier again, he says softly. Not accusing, just telling the truth. Something wrapped itself around you. You don't quite know how to answer. Shame rarely comes with simple bullet points. It's more like an atmosphere you carry. I just thought I'd be different by now, you admit, maybe only in your heart. I thought I'd be stronger. I thought I'd trust you more. I thought I'd be healed. I thought I'd stop doing that. I thought I'd stop feeling this. You half expect him to agree, to say, yes, you should be further. I've been waiting for you to catch up. Instead, he does something unexpected. He shifts closer, close enough that you can sense his warmth, not just from the fire, but from him. Then, very gently, as if handling something fragile, he reaches toward your shoulders, not to push you, not to shake you, but to touch the edge of that cloak. This, he whispers, doesn't belong to you. You freeze for a moment. You've worn this cloak so long it has begun to feel like part of your skin. It's become the lens you see yourself through, but he sees it clearly for what it is. Not your true covering, but something thrown over you by guilt, by comparison, by lies, by half-truths twisted into accusations. With a kindness that is almost startling, he begins to lift it. He doesn't rip it off in one violent motion as if your shame disgusts him. He doesn't tear it away to expose you harshly. He understands that you've used it as a kind of protection too. If you judge yourself first, maybe it will hurt less when others do. So he goes slowly, carefully, his hands sure but gentle. As he lifts, he speaks. Not platitudes, but deep, grounding truth. You feel like you're stuck in a pit, he says quietly. Like you've been in the same low place for too long, crying until you're hoarse, wondering if anything will ever change. I hear you. I know you're waiting. I haven't ignored your cries. You remember the words about God turning toward those who wait for him, pulling them out of the muddy depths and setting their feet on a rock. You may not feel completely out of the mud yet, but you realize you're not crying into an empty sky. Your voice has been heard every single time. He lifts the cloak a little higher off your shoulders. You think everyone else is dancing while you're still mourning, he continues. You see other people's joy, and you wonder what's wrong with you that you still feel so heavy, so often. You remember the promise that weeping may stay for a night, but joy comes in the morning. For a long time, it has felt like your night lasted longer than it should. Shame told you that the length of your night meant there was something wrong with you, but Jesus knows the story behind your night. He knows what you've walked through, the losses, the betrayals, the disappointments, the slow healing. He knows why the tears have come as often as they have. He doesn't scold you for the time it's taking. One day, he reminds you, I will turn your mourning into dancing. I will take off your sackcloth and clothe you with joy. That is my heart toward you. I am not the one telling you to stay in the ashes. I am the one planning your restoration. The cloak shifts again. You feel air on parts of your heart that haven't felt it in a long time. You say, I should be further by now, he goes on, his voice steady as the fire. But you measure yourself by a standard I never gave you. You count progress in ways I don't. You think about what you call progress, visible achievements, changed habits, big moments of breakthrough, feelings of strength. He sees more quietly. He sees the days you got up when you wanted to stay in bed. He sees the prayers you pray when you feel nothing. He sees the way you've kept turning back to him, even when you were embarrassed to come again with the same struggle. He sees the tears no one else saw. He sees you resisting the urge to numb out, even when the pain felt overwhelming. Do you know, he asks gently, how I see you when you stumble but reach for me again? I don't see a failure who should be done with this already. I see a child who trusts me enough to come back again and again. I see faith in you even when all you see is weakness. The inner critic that has been listing your shortcomings pauses for a moment, startled. It's not used to being contradicted. I'm not tired of you, Jesus says, directly addressing the fear that has been humming under everything. I am not exhausted by your process. I'm not rolling my eyes when you come to me with familiar tears. I don't compare you to other people and sigh. I don't look at where they are and where you are and decide you're behind. His words land slowly, like drops of water on dry, cracked ground. You're not sure you can absorb them all at once, but part of you, somewhere deep, recognizes his voice. It sounds like the one who is close to the brokenhearted, the one who saves those crushed in spirit, not the one who crushes them further. He lifts the cloak from one shoulder now, and for a breath, you feel what it's like without it. Lighter, less hunched, able to look up a little more easily. It's almost uncomfortable because you're so used to carrying that extra weight, but it's also strangely relieving. You tell yourself, he continues softly, that your failures are the most important thing about you. You rehearse them, you wear them, you bow under them. But I look at you and see the plans I have for you. The thoughts I have toward you are too many to count. My care for you has never been small. You remember a line about God's wonderful works being beyond number, about his purposes for us being more than we could declare. You've applied that to other people before, the stronger ones, the further ones. But Jesus is applying it to you now, to the you who feels stuck behind, messy, slow. He pulls the cloak further off, and as it slips, you feel other things sliding away with it. Old labels, old verdicts, old stories you've told about yourself. I'm always the one who messes up. I can never get this right. I'm the difficult one, the needy one, the broken one. They've sat so long on your shoulders that you've forgotten they were placed there by anything other than truth. As he works, he doesn't ignore your real sin. He doesn't pretend there's nothing to sanctify, nothing to heal, nothing to change. He's the one who searches hearts and knows them completely, but the difference is this. He never identifies you by your worst moments. He never fuses your failures to your name. He separates who you are from what you've done in a way that shame never does. Shame tells you, he says, that you are your pit, that you are your weakness, that you are your pattern. But I am the one who lifts people out of pits, who sets their feet on a rock, who gives them a new song. How can I do that if I agree that they belong at the bottom? You think of how many times you felt stuck at the bottom, how many times you thought, maybe this is just who I am now. He hasn't stopped coming to that place, reaching, calling, lifting, even tonight by this fire. His hands are under that cloak, under that weight, under those lies, raising them away from you. At last, he slides the cloak completely from your shoulders. For a moment, you feel exposed. Not exposed in the sense of being shamed, but exposed because you've spent so long hiding under that heaviness. You're not quite sure how to stand without it. You're not yet used to the feeling of being light. He doesn't toss the cloak aside carelessly. He holds it in his hands, looks at it for what it is, a collection of accusations, comparisons, impossible standards, and distorted beliefs. Then he places it where it belongs. Not on you, but into the consuming fire of his love, where it cannot define you anymore. He turns back to you, and his face is full of quiet joy, like someone who has been waiting to see you step out into open air. "Look at me," he says softly. You lift your eyes, hesitantly, and meet his gaze. In his eyes, you do not see disappointment. You do not see weariness with you. You do not see a timeline you've failed to meet. You see something else, a deep, steady affection, a delight that feels almost impossible. "I know the timeline you had for yourself," he says. "I know the chapters you thought would be finished by now. I know the version of you that you imagined, stronger, calmer, braver, more healed, but I haven't been loving that imaginary version. I've been loving you, right here, right now, in this stage, in this struggle, in this step." The inner critic tries one last time. "But what about all the times I've failed? What about the ways I keep falling short?" He answers with a kind of stubborn grace. "You fall, and you think the most important part of that story is the falling," he says. "I see the most important part as the getting up, the reaching for me, the way your heart keeps turning toward me, even when you feel unworthy. That turning, again and again, that is precious to me. That is what I see. Somewhere inside you feel tears, maybe physical, maybe only in your spirit, not just tears of sadness, but of relief, of finally hearing that your slowness has not disqualified you from his love, that your process has not exhausted his patience, that your timeline has not surprised him. You're not as far behind as you think," he adds gently. "In ways you don't even notice yet, I have been growing things in you, humility, compassion, dependence, depth. These don't always look impressive from the outside, but in my kingdom, they are gold." You let those words sit. You might not fully believe them yet. Shame has spoken loudly for a long time. But tonight, another voice is beginning to rise, steady and patient. His voice. The one that doesn't deny your weaknesses, but refuses to let them have the last word. The night is not over. There is more he wants to show you. Up to now, you've mostly seen your life through the lens of your own expectations and failures. Before this night ends, he intends to take you a little higher, to show you your journey from his perspective, what he sees when he looks at your story, the threads of grace he has been weaving even when you couldn't see them. But for now, in this moment, it is enough that the cloak of shame is no longer wrapped around your shoulders. You sit there by the fire, feeling almost strangely light, feeling the cool night air on places that were covered for years, feeling the warmth of his gaze rest on you without flinching. You are still in process, you are still learning, you are still healing, but you are not behind in his love. You are not late to his mercy. You are not an exception to his patience. And as this night continues, he will keep unfolding what that means, until, little by little, You start to see yourself not as shame has named you, but as He has seen you all along. There's a different kind of heaviness that doesn't live in your past at all. It doesn't come from what has already happened, or even from what you're wrestling with right now. It leans forward from the horizon, from a day that hasn't arrived yet, and somehow still manages to sit on your chest tonight. You feel it when you think about decisions you haven't made, paths you haven't chosen, conversations that are still waiting, bills that will come due, results you haven't received, changes you sense are coming but can't quite see. Tomorrow, whether literally tomorrow or just the next season, can feel like something large pressing against the edges of your life. The fire in front of you is steady. Jesus is close. You've been walking with Him through burdens, through thoughts, through fear and shame and old wounds. For a moment, it almost feels like enough just to be here with Him in this small circle of light. And then your mind does what it so often does. It looks past the fire. Out beyond the clearing where you sit, the night thickens into a landscape you can barely make out. In your inner picture, you see it now. A chain of dark mountains rising up against the sky. You can't see their details, only their outlines, a jagged ridge after ridge, stretching farther than you can trace. That is what tomorrow feels like to you. Not a gentle hill, but a range. Decisions like steep slopes, potential losses like sharp cliffs. Unknowns like shadowed valleys, where anything could be hiding. You stare at those shapes and feel small. How am I supposed to climb all of that? Your heart whispers. How am I supposed to handle everything that might be waiting for me there? You think about finances, what you have, what you don't, what could change. Questions rise. What if there isn't enough? What if something unexpected hits? What if this step of faith doesn't work out? The thought of trying to carry yourself through those possibilities makes your chest ache. You think about relationships, people you're afraid of losing, conflicts that might surface, chances you might have to have hard conversations. What if they leave? What if they don't understand? What if this never heals? The images of those potential futures crowd together like dark trees. You think about your health, your body that doesn't always do what you want, the tests you might one day need, the symptoms you don't fully understand. You wonder what might be hidden, what might be growing, what might break down. What if my strength fails when I need it most? What if something comes that I can't manage? You think about your calling and purpose, where your life is going, what it's all adding up to. What if I never get there? What if I miss something important? What if I make the wrong choice and everything unravels? Each what if adds a new peak to the mountain range. It doesn't take long before tomorrow looks gigantic and you feel like a tiny figure at the base, already tired before you take a single step. Jesus sees your gaze shifting. He notices the way your body tenses again, the way your breath grows shallow. He knows you're no longer here beside the fire in your thoughts. You've walked ahead in your imagination, already climbing slopes that don't exist yet, already carrying loads that haven't been placed in your hands. He lets you look for a moment because he understands. You're not being dramatic. Life has surprised you before. You've had seasons when the ground dropped out suddenly. You've tasted disappointment you didn't plan for. No wonder part of you is always trying to scan the horizon for danger. But then, gently, he speaks. Lift your eyes, he whispers, echoing the words you've heard in the Psalms, not just to the mountains, higher. You look up, not away from the range, but above it. Even in the dark, the sky stretches out farther than the peaks. The mountains may be big, but they are not endless. They rise from the earth, but they do not reach the throne. Where does your help come from? His presence asks softly. Not from your own strength, not from your ability to predict every outcome. Your help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. You've said that line before, maybe even sung it. Tonight, it begins to sound less like poetry and more like an anchor. The same God who shaped those metaphorical mountains, the same God who knows every contour of your future days, is the one sitting with you right now by this fire. Jesus shifts his posture, and in your inner picture, something changes. You still see him here beside you, the glow of the flames on his face. But at the same time, in a way your mind can barely comprehend, you begin to see him there as well. Out in that mountain range of tomorrow, already standing on ridges you haven't reached, already walking in valleys you're afraid to enter, already present in rooms you haven't stepped into yet. It's as if your view splits for a moment. One part still sees him close, hands reach away. The other sees him far ahead, where your fears live. Same eyes, same care, same calm. Tomorrow feels huge to you, he says, because you're looking at it from where you're sitting, but I am not waiting for you at the edge of it. I am already in it. You let that sink in. For so long, you've pictured yourself walking into the future and then asking him to show up. You've imagined yourself entering new challenges, then hoping he will meet you there. Tonight, he is quietly flipping that picture around. I don't arrive when you get there, he continues. I am there, and you arrive to find me already working. You look again at the mountain range. This time, as your eyes adjust, you see small glimmers of light scattered across the dark shapes. Tiny campfires, lanterns, points of warmth. Every place your imagination says, that might be hard, you notice a faint glow. What is that? You ask inside. Those are the mercies I've already prepared, he answers. The help I've already set in motion, the people you don't know yet, the strength you'll be given on the exact day you need it. The wisdom you'll have when that decision actually arrives, not before. The comfort I'll give you if some of those fears come true, and the protection I'll give you when they don't. You remember the promise that the Lord watches over your coming and your going, both now and forever. Not just your going into dangers, but your coming back out. Not just your first steps into new seasons, but every step, every turn, every weary climb. You worry about your foot slipping, he says gently, about making the wrong choice, about missing a step and losing everything. But I am the one who keeps you from falling in ways you don't even see. You cannot count all the times I've held you steady in places you felt alone. The anxiety still hums in you. It's not easy to let go of. But now, instead of standing alone at the base of shadowy peaks, you see yourself next to him, here in the present. Your job is not to climb tomorrow tonight. Your job is not to map every path, calculate every risk, and rehearse every conversation in advance. Your job, right now, is to sit with the one who is already in all of those days. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, you remember hearing. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at break of day. That phrase, at break of day, rests on you. Not all help is early by your timeline. It often comes exactly when it's needed, not when your anxiety demands it, but it does come. It has always come, even if it didn't look the way you expected. You are afraid of waking up into problems, he acknowledges, but I am already in your mornings, before your alarm sounds, before your eyes open, before your hands reach for your phone. I am watching over you, over your coming into the day and your going back to rest again, not as a distant observer, but as a present help. You think of the phrase, ever-present help in trouble. Not occasional help, not reluctant help, ever-present, always there. So present that you sometimes miss his nearness because you're looking only for dramatic rescue, not quiet sustaining. What about the things that really do hurt? You ask him inside. What about when the worst does happen, when something I dread actually becomes real? He doesn't deny that some days will be hard. He doesn't promise that every mountain will flatten or that every valley will be shallow. But standing there in your vision, both by the fire and out in that range, he answers with steady certainty. I will be with you in those days, he says. You will not be alone in a hospital room. You will not be alone in a hard conversation. You will not be alone in a season of grief. You will not be alone when you don't know what to do next. There is a kind of quiet that follows those words. Not the silence of denial, but the hush that comes when someone bigger than you has spoken. If the earth gives way, he continues, borrowing the language you know, if the mountains themselves should fall into the heart of the sea, I am still your refuge. I am still your strength. I do not change when circumstances do. You realize that part of your anxiety about tomorrow comes from imagining yourself walking into those days without him, or with a version of him that has grown smaller, colder, tired of you. Seeing him already there, unchanged, unshaken, begins to unhook that lie. The mountain range of tomorrow hasn't vanished. You can still see the outlines. You can still sense that there may be sharp climbs and unknown trails. But your focus is shifting. Instead of staring only at the size of what's ahead, you're starting to notice the size of the one who walks both beside you and before you. He turns his face toward you again here, by the fire. Tonight, he says, you are allowed to leave tomorrow in my hands. You are allowed to rest before everything is figured out. You are allowed to be small while I remain big. You are allowed to be finite while I remain infinite. You exhale slowly. The anxiety doesn't disappear with one breath, but something loosens. For so long, you've believed that you had to carry tomorrow's weight tonight, as if worrying enough could somehow pay off the cost in advance, as if rehearsing every possible outcome could protect you from pain. Worrying about tomorrow cannot add even a single hour to your life, he reminds you, not as a rebuke, but as an invitation. But trusting me with tomorrow will give you back the hours you're losing tonight. You think about that. How many hours of rest have been stolen by what if? How many nights have you spent climbing phantom mountains in your mind, arriving at dawn already exhausted? You haven't meant to live that way. It's just what fear and responsibility taught you to do. I know why you do it, he says gently. You are trying to feel safe. You are trying to protect yourself and those you love by thinking ahead. Planning has its place. Wisdom has its place. But there comes a point where planning becomes panic. That's the line where I invite you to stop and let me be God again. You close your eyes for a moment and picture it clearly. Your hands holding the shape of tomorrow. All your plans, all your fears, all your calculations. Then slowly, you extend those hands toward him. Not because you no longer care about what happens, but because you are tired of pretending you can control it all. He receives it. He doesn't tell you that your concerns are silly. He doesn't wave his hand and say, "Don't think about that." He holds your tomorrow with the same care he held your today when you laid your burdens down earlier. Only now you see that he stands in both places at once. You lean back a little, feeling the ground beneath you again, feeling the heat of the fire, feeling his nearness. You're not climbing anything right now. You're not rushing into decisions. You're just here. Something changes, he says quietly, when you truly believe that I am already in your future. Not as a theory, as reality. Your prayers shift from, "Please show up," to, "Help me see you there." Your anxiety shifts from, "What if I'm alone?" to, "Even if it hurts, I will not face it without you." He pauses, letting you sit with that. As this night goes on, he adds, we're going to look at your story from my side of it, not just where you think you should be, or what you're afraid will happen, but what I've actually been doing, how I've led you, carried you, protected you. When you see even a glimpse of that, tomorrow loses some of its power to terrify you. Because you'll know the same God who was faithful in your yesterdays and is present in your now will be just as faithful in every tomorrow you're afraid to meet. You take another breath. The mountain range is still there, but so is he, here and there and beyond. For the first time in a long time, the idea of tomorrow doesn't only bring heaviness. Somewhere deep inside, almost too quiet to hear, a different possibility stirs. That there might be goodness ahead that you can't see yet. That mercy is already on its way to meet you. That when you wake, you will rise into a day that has already been walked through, softened, prepared by hands that love you. And as your eyes begin to grow heavier here by the fire, you rest not because you've solved the future, but because someone who loves you has already stepped into it and won't let you walk into a single hour alone. The night has grown quieter. The fire that once crackled bright and strong has settled now into a deep, steady glow. The flames are smaller, lower, moving gently instead of reaching. The wood has turned to a bed of red and orange embers, pulsing like a slow heartbeat in the dark. The shadows around you are softer. The world feels a little farther away. You've walked through a lot tonight without moving from this place. You've laid down burdens you were never meant to carry alone. You've let Jesus step into the storm of your thoughts. You've watched him stand between you and fear, between you and accusing voices, between you and shame, between you and a future that felt too big. Now he invites you into something even simpler. Breathe, he whispers. You may not even realize how long you've been holding your breath, not literally, but in the deeper sense. Holding your breath when you wait for bad news, holding your breath when you're trying to be strong for everybody else, holding your breath when you're afraid of making a mistake, holding your breath when you come to God, unsure if you're welcome. Here, by this fire, in his presence, you don't have to hold anything. You let your shoulders drop, even if only a little, and you focus for a moment on something very basic. Your breathing. Not to control it perfectly, not to do it right, just to notice it, to be here for this one gentle rise and fall, in and out. Jesus sits close enough that if this were a physical scene, you could hear his breathing too. Calm, unhurried, steady. There is nothing anxious in him, nothing rushed, nothing tight or braced. His rest is not fragile, it's complete. And he is not asking you to generate that kind of peace on your own. He is inviting you to rest inside his. Let's slow down together, he says quietly, one breath at a time. So you try. You breathe in a little deeper than before. Not to strain, just enough to feel your lungs fill in. And as you do, you quietly agree with a simple truth. You are with me. You breathe out, letting the air leave gently, not forcing it, not pushing. Out. And with that breath, you agree with another truth. I am safe in you. In, you are with me. Out. I am safe in you. You don't have to say the words out loud. You can simply let them move with the breathing of your heart. If your mind wanders, that's okay. Each time you notice, you just come back to the simple rhythm. In, you are with me. Out, I am safe in you. You remember the words, whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Tonight, you're not trying to build that shelter. You're discovering that you're already inside it. You've been standing under his wings without even realizing how close he's been. You picture it now, a great, warm, living shelter. Wings spread wide over you, not fragile, not thin, but strong and soft at the same time. The air under those wings is different, quieter, safer. There is room enough for your whole self here, the tired parts, the scared parts, the ashamed parts, the hopeful parts. Nothing about you is too much for this shelter. Under those wings, you breathe again. In, you cover me. Out, I can let go. In, you cover me. Out, I can let go. The world outside this shelter still exists. Tomorrow still exists. The things you care about still matter, but under his wings, they are not yours to hold all at once. They are held by someone larger than your own strength. You feel the ground beneath you, solid, steady. No one is asking you to stand tall right now. This is not the hour for performance, for proving, for figuring everything out. This is the hour for sinking into the truth that you are protected. You think of those words again. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You've spent so much time trying to be your own shield. Tonight, his faithfulness steps forward in front of you. In, your faithfulness holds. Out, I release my fear. In, your faithfulness holds. Out, I release my fear. The more you breathe with him, the more your body begins to understand what your mind has struggled to believe, that you really can rest. Not because you've solved everything, but because someone else is awake, watchful, guarding you. He who watches over you will neither slumber nor sleep, the psalm says. That means you are allowed to sleep. You don't have to keep watch over your own soul all night. You don't have to stay mentally standing guard over every possibility. There is already a watcher, and he does not grow tired. Jesus looks at you with a softness that sees your exhaustion and honors it. You've worked hard just to get through this day, he says, his voice as gentle as the breeze that moves through the trees overhead. You have done enough for today. Let me be the one who watches over your coming and your going, now and forever. You let that settle into you. In, you are watching over me. Out, I can finally rest. In, you are watching over me. Out, I can finally rest. The firelight flickers over his face, then over yours. The shadows around you deepen, but they're not threatening anymore. They feel like a thick blanket over the world, giving you permission to stop. You think of another line. My soul thirsts for you, in a dry and weary land where there is no water. You know that hunger. You know what it's like to feel dry and stretched thin, to feel like you've poured out more than you had to give. But the psalm doesn't end with thirst. It moves toward fullness. I will be fully satisfied as with the richest of foods. With singing lips, my mouth will praise you. Tonight, that satisfaction doesn't have to be loud. It can be as simple as this. Your soul being fed by the awareness that you are not alone, not forgotten, not on your own to figure everything out. Jesus doesn't ask you to sing out loud. He knows how tired you are. But he does let the possibility of that future song brush against your heart like a promise. One day, more of your words will be praise and joy. Tonight, they can be quiet breaths and simple truths. That's enough. You imagine lying down fully now, not just sitting by the fire, but stretching out near it, the earth under you firm and kind. The weight of your body settles in, and instead of trying to hold yourself up, you let the ground bear you. You don't have to deserve this rest. You don't have to fix yourself first. You can simply rest because you are a human being, loved by God, and he gives sleep to his beloved. Jesus is still there. You picture him sitting within arm's reach, or perhaps lying nearby too, eyes open, watching over the night. If you stir, he'll notice. If a fear tries to creep back in, it will have to pass him first. His presence is like a wall of peace around you. If you wake, he seems to say, we'll breathe again. If your thoughts start running, we'll walk through them again. You don't have to be afraid of waking up in the night. I'll be just as near then as I am now. Under his wings, you close your eyes a little more fully. In, you know my story. Out, I can stop rehearsing it. In, you know my story. Out, I can stop rehearsing it. The awareness slowly grows that something else is happening, even while you rest. You begin to sense that rest is not wasted time. It's not emptiness. It's the place where God does work you cannot see yet. You think of how seeds grow underground in the dark, unseen. How wounds knit together while a person sleeps. How the tide reshapes the shore in the hours when no one is watching. In the same way, there are things God will do in you, for you, and around you while you are not actively helping. While you sleep, Jesus whispers, I will still be moving. He doesn't mean you will wake up and every problem will be gone. But he does mean that there will be shifts, subtle, real shifts, in places you can't access with effort alone. Maybe a hard edge in your heart will soften a little. Maybe a thought pattern will loosen its hold. Maybe strength you'll need in the coming days will begin to grow quietly inside you. You may not feel it as it happens. It might be weeks or months before you look back and realize something is different. I'm not carrying this exactly the way I used to. Trust me, he says softly. While you rest, I am not resting from loving you. I am not resting from guarding you. I am not resting from shaping your story. I neither slumber nor sleep. You can. You allow yourself to believe, even just a little, that the hours ahead aren't empty. They are full of his care, full of his watching, full of his unseen work. In, you are working even now. Out, I don't have to see it. In, you are working even now. Out, I don't have to see it. Your breathing settles into a rhythm that belongs more to sleep than to tension. Muscles you didn't know were clenched begin to relax by degrees. Your jaw loosens. Your hands, which may have been slightly curled, slowly uncurl. The space behind your eyes feels a little less tight. If thoughts appear, you don't chase them. You let them drift like clouds across a sky that belongs to him. The loud ones can wait. The demanding ones can wait. The accusing ones will find him in their way. You, for now, are hidden. In the shadow of your wings, I sing for joy, the psalmist wrote. Tonight, it might sound more like a whisper or no words at all, but your resting is its own kind of song, a quiet declaration that you are no longer willing to live as if you are alone. Your soul, which has been thirsty and strained, is beginning in the smallest way to feel what it's like to be held instead of holding everything. And that is enough for tonight. He remains with you as the last bright flames fold into embers. He remains as the sky deepens. He remains as your consciousness loosens its grip and sleep begins to draw you under. There will be a moment when you are no longer fully aware of this fire, of these words, of your own thoughts. He will still be here. You are under his wings. You are in his hands. You are watched over in your coming and your going, in your waking and your sleeping, in your breathing and your dreaming. And somewhere, far beyond what you can see or feel right now, things in the unseen are shifting. Threads being woven, mercies being prepared, strength quietly forming, so that in days to come, you will look back on this night and realize that while you breathed and finally rested, he was doing far more than you knew. There is a moment each night when your body decides for you. Your eyes grow heavy, no matter how much you try to keep them open. Your thoughts start slipping out of sentences and into fragments, pictures, half-formed worries. Muscles that have been tensed for hours begin to lose their grip. It's as if your whole being is slowly reaching the edge of a cliff, and whether you feel ready or not, you're going to go over into sleep. Part of you welcomes it. You're tired. So tired. Tired in ways that go beyond the simple word. Tired in your bones, tired in your heart, tired in your mind. The idea of finally shutting down for a while feels like mercy. But another part of you is afraid, because you know that when you sleep, you are not in control anymore. You can't keep watch over your phone. You can't check on the people you love. You can't keep refreshing the thing you're waiting to hear about. You can't monitor everything in the house. You can't rehearse the conversations you're worried about. You can't hold the world together by thinking about it. Sleep is a kind of surrender, and surrender can feel scary. You've learned through hard things that unexpected moments often come when you're not looking. A late-night phone call that changed everything. A morning you woke up to news you never wanted to hear. A time when trouble rose while you were unaware. So some part of you has quietly decided that it's safer to stay mentally on duty as much as you can. But your body knows the truth. You are human. You are limited. You cannot stay awake forever. You cannot be your own watchman day and night. Eventually, you must lie down and let go. Jesus knows that tension. He has watched you at the edge of sleep on many nights. Eyes staring into the dark, heart racing, thoughts spinning, wanting rest but afraid to fully release your grip. Tonight, he doesn't shame you for that struggle. He simply makes sure you're not alone in it. He is still by the fire with you. The embers are low now, glowing like a nest of little suns. The air is cool and still. Your body is sinking closer to the ground, into whatever you are lying on in your imagination. A blanket, a mat, the soft earth. You feel the weight of your limbs. You feel how much they want to stop. He watches you with a tenderness that has no hurry in it. No impatience, no frustration, just deep, steady understanding. You're reaching your limit, he says quietly. And that's not a failure. That's how I made you. It's such a strange thing to hear that your limits are not an embarrassment to him. You've treated them like weaknesses to hide or override. He treats them like part of the design. You are not me, he continues softly. You were never meant to carry the burden of staying alert for every danger and every need, all the time. That's my place. That's my joy. That's what it means that I am God, and you are beloved. You stare into the embers, their soft orange glow reflecting in your eyes. Your thoughts drift toward the people you love. Maybe they are in the same house. Maybe they are in other cities, other countries, other time zones. People whose safety you care about more than your own. People whose stories feel intertwined with yours. Part of what keeps you awake is the silent responsibility you feel toward them. If I sleep, you think, even unconsciously, who will watch? Who will keep them safe? Who will make sure everything is okay? Jesus listens to that unspoken question. He doesn't dismiss your care. The love you feel for those people is real and precious. But he also knows that you've been trying to do with your heart what only he can do in his sovereignty. Even when you are fully awake, he says gently, you cannot see every threat. You cannot stop every accident. You cannot control every choice. You are not their savior. That thought stings and soothes at the same time. But I am here, he adds, with you, with them. Everywhere you cannot be, I am. In every hour, you cannot stay awake, I remain. You think again of the words you've heard. The one who watches over you does not doze off or drift away. He doesn't have a night shift and a day shift. He doesn't clock out and leave an answering machine. His attention does not flicker. You let your eyes close for a moment. You can still see the fire, bright against the dark of your eyelids. You picture your home, the places where you and your loved ones sleep. Rooms, beds, couches, little corners. You imagine it all from above for a moment. The layout, the walls, the doors, and then quietly, you imagine something else. A presence moving through those rooms that is not bound by walls. Not a ghost, not a vague feeling, but the Lord who is your rock and fortress, your shield and stronghold. The God who has been your help on days when you thought you wouldn't make it. The one who has pulled you out of waters over your head, who has set your feet back on solid ground. You see him in your heart, in those spaces, not frantic, not pacing, just there, watching, guarding, listening, loving. In one room, he stands near a sleeping child, hand hovering over the small rise and fall of their breathing. In another, he sits quietly near someone's bed, closer than any fear, closer than any nightmare. In another, he is at the doorway, not as a barrier of wood and metal, but as a line no evil can cross without meeting him first. You realize that while you sleep, there are countless things you don't know about, things that almost went wrong and didn't. things that could have harmed and didn't. Your life has been full of rescues you will only recognize in hindsight, if at all. I have been your rock when you didn't know the earthquake was coming, he reminds you. I have been your fortress even when you thought you were just getting lucky. I have been your shield when accusations, attacks, or dangers didn't even reach you because I intercepted them. You won't know the full list until glory, but hints of it are already in your story. Times when you changed plans at the last minute and later realized why it mattered. Times when a person came to mind to call and that conversation shifted something. Times when something you dreaded never actually happened and you don't even know why. I have not been asleep, he says, not once. Your breathing is slower now, heavier. Thought and dream are beginning to blur. That's okay. This chapter isn't for making you more alert. It's meant to carry you to the place where you can finally let go, because he is alert enough for both of you. Listen to me, he says, voice like a warm blanket. You are allowed to shut down because I don't. You are allowed to rest your mind because mine never loses track of you. You are allowed to let your body be still because I am not still in my care for you. You turn those truths over quietly. You lie down. He stays standing. You close your eyes. He keeps watch. You lose awareness. He remains fully aware of every breath, every beat of your heart, every movement in the night. My soul finds rest in God alone, the psalmist said. He alone is my rock and my salvation. He is my fortress. I will not be shaken. Those words weren't written from a spa. They were written by someone who knew danger, enemies, betrayal. Rest wasn't natural. It was chosen in the middle of chaos because they believed that someone else was holding the roof up. Jesus invites you into that same choice. Right now, he whispers, the weight that has been pressing on you all day is pressing against me instead. Lean your tiredness into me. Lean your questions into me. Lean your nightmares into me. I am strong enough to carry them all the way through the night. You picture it, all the burdens you've set down tonight, worries, fears, shame, tomorrow's unknowns, no longer at your feet, but gathered in his hands. He is not overwhelmed by the pile. He doesn't stagger under it. His arms do not grow tired. If anything, he seems almost glad to hold what you no longer can. Every time you've pushed through exhaustion thinking you had to stay on guard, I was guarding you, he says. Every time you've jolted awake with a start, heart pounding, thinking you were alone in the dark, I was right beside you. You have never once been unobserved in the night. There's a comfort in that, which you may not have felt before. You've thought of God as present, during the day when you're active, doing, praying, working. You've thought of him in church, in worship, in crisis. Maybe you've thought of him in those late-night moments when you're wide awake and crying out. But he has also been there for every hour when you've been completely unconscious, every night of your childhood, every nap, every time you slept from utter exhaustion, every time you overslept, every long sleep after being sick. He has watched, not as a distant inspector, but as someone whose gaze is protective and loving. The Lord will watch over your life, the psalm promises. Your coming and your going, both now and forever. Coming and going, waking and sleeping, starting and stopping, rising to do and sinking to rest. There is no part of that rhythm that he doesn't cover. Your thoughts try to rise one more time, bringing up a specific situation, maybe a bill, a test result, a relationship, a decision. Your mind reaches for it, wanting to pick it up again and worry it like a stone in your hands. Jesus notices that movement too. Not tonight, he says kindly. You have given it to me for now. Let it stay with me while you sleep. You want to argue, just for a second, just to run over it one more time. But he shakes his head gently, like a parent softly guiding a child back to bed. You thinking about it all night will not fix it, he reminds you. You resting in me tonight will change how you meet it tomorrow. There's the shift. Because something does happen when you sleep in his presence. Not magical erasing, not a guarantee that every circumstance will be different by morning, but the atmosphere around your heart changes. The tightness loosens, the noise quiets, the grip of fear weakens. Space opens up where there was none. He often works in that space. While you're sleeping, he says, I am lining up encouragement you haven't heard yet. I am softening hearts you haven't spoken to yet. I am weaving together events you don't know are connected yet. I am strengthening you in ways you won't notice until you're already walking into the day. You might wake up and find that the problem is still there, but somehow your chest isn't as tight. Somehow your mind isn't racing quite as fast. Somehow hope is a little easier to reach for. You may think it's just a better mood, but often it's because he has been pouring something into you while you surrendered to sleep. Some burdens, he says gently, will feel lighter in the morning, not because they vanished, but because I will have shifted how they sit in your heart. I'll have moved them from the center to the side. I'll have filled that center with more of my peace. You don't have to understand how. You don't have to feel it happening. You just have to be willing to rest in the truth that he is not idle while you are quiet. Your eyes are heavier now. The fire in your mind is almost entirely embers, a low glow that breathes with you. You feel the softness of whatever you're lying on. You feel Jesus' nearness, like a presence at your side and at your door and over your home all at once. You are reaching the point where you won't be able to hold on to words much longer. That's okay. The last thing he wants you to know before the edge gives way is simple. I've got you, he whispers. All night, every hour, every heartbeat, every breath. You can let go. I will not. You let your awareness slip a little more. He remains. You drift. He stays. You go offline. He keeps vigil over your soul, your story, your people, your tomorrow, and when morning comes, light slipping back into the sky, you will not rise alone into that day. You will be stepping into hours that have already been prayed over, guarded, and gently prepared by the God who never clocks out, who never looks away, and who never, ever sleeps. There is a point in the night when everything becomes very simple. The big questions, the heavy fears, the tangled thoughts, they are still real, but they move a little farther back. What remains in the front is smaller and quieter. The weight of your body, the rise and fall of your chest, the warmth of the fire, the steady nearness of Jesus. You have walked a long way in your heart tonight. You came here exhausted, carrying more than anyone really saw. You sat down by this fire with arms full of unspoken worries, and together, you and Jesus began to name them and put them down. One by one, you laid today at his feet, the conversations that drained you, the decisions that stretched you, the disappointments that stung. He did not rush you. He did not tell you to get over it. He received each thing you handed him as if it mattered, because it does. He listened to the storm inside your mind, the replayed moments, the imaginary arguments, the worst-case scenarios, and he didn't judge you for any of it. He stepped into that storm and spoke peace, not by snapping his fingers and erasing your humanity, but by reminding you that he is your shield, your shepherd, the one who lets you lie down and sleep in safety even when the world is not perfect. He walked with you through the shadows of fear, the valleys where what-ifs grow tall and loud. He stood between you and the things that hunt your peace at night, rod and staff in hand, making it clear. You are not walking through any darkness alone. He placed himself in front of the voices that accused you, voices from the past, voices from people, voices that sounded like your own. He refused to let their words be the loudest ones in your life. He defended you where no one else saw the truth. He reminded you that he knows your heart, your intentions, your tears. He knows the parts of your story no one else has ever understood. He reached for the heavy cloak of shame that had been wrapped around your shoulders for far too long. The belief that you should be further by now, that everyone else is ahead, that God must be tired of you. He lifted that cloak off gently, not exposing you to ridicule, but uncovering you so you could finally feel air again. He showed you that your limits are not a disappointment to him, that your process has not worn out his patience, that your repeated turning back to him moves his heart. He stood with you at the edge of tomorrow, where the mountain range of the future looked too big to climb. He let you see that he is already there, already in the valleys you fear, already on the heights you can't imagine, already preparing mercies and help for days you haven't reached. He reminded you that the one who watches over your coming and going never sleeps, never loses track of you, never forgets. He taught you to breathe again. Simple, slow breaths tied to simple, deep truths. He is with you. You are safe in him. He covers you with his wings. You can rest in his shadow. You can lay your head down knowing that someone stronger is holding the world, including yours. He promised that while you sleep, he stays awake. That as your mind goes offline, his care does not. That your unconscious hours are not empty. They are filled with his watching, his guarding, his quiet work in places you cannot reach with effort. Now, at last, you are here. The fire has dimmed into a soft bed of embers, glowing gently in the dark. The air is cool and still. Your breathing is slower, deeper. Muscles that clung to tension are beginning to let go. Your thoughts are softer at the edges, drifting like clouds. It might even be hard to hold every word of this, and that's okay. This part is meant to wash over you more than it is meant to be analyzed. Jesus is still beside you. If you picture yourself lying near the fire now, you can sense him within reach, a quiet, steady presence. He is not distracted. He is not thinking of other things. His attention is not divided. He is fully here with you, just as he will be fully with you in the morning. You may not feel spiritual right now. You may feel more like a worn-out child than a mighty believer, but he is not measuring your worth by how strong you look in this moment. He is not asking you to impress him. He is simply glad that you came, glad that you stayed, glad that you let him near the places you usually hide. He knows that when you wake tomorrow, life will still be real. There will still be responsibilities. There may still be unanswered questions. Some problems may still be waiting, but he also knows something else. You will not wake up alone in that. You will wake up still held. You will open your eyes into a day that he has already entered, a day that his mercy has already reached into, a day where his goodness and love are still following you, not because you were perfect in the night, but because he is faithful in every hour. You may wake feeling different right away, or you may not. Sometimes you'll feel lighter, more hopeful, more rested. Sometimes you'll still feel a bit heavy or foggy. That does not change the reality. He will be just as close in the morning as he is right now by the fire. Rejoicing comes in the morning, the psalm says. It doesn't always mean a loud, dancing kind of rejoicing. Sometimes it means a quiet strength you didn't expect, a breath that feels freer, a thought that hurts a little less, a small, surprising moment of beauty you might have missed if you hadn't made it through the night. His goodness and mercy will still be following you, not occasionally, all the days of your life, even the days when you feel like you're not following him as well as you wanted to. His kindness doesn't wait for you at the finish line. It walks behind you, beside you, and ahead of you, even when your steps are uneven. He will still be preserving your life. Every beat of your heart in the night, every breath you take as you sleep, is watched. Every risk you don't see, every almost that never reaches you, every thread of your story. He keeps weaving when you're not aware. That's his preserving hand. Tonight, you have come to the end of yourself in a gentle way. You have reached that place where there is nothing more to do, nothing more to prove, nothing more to carry. The only thing left is to rest. You are not falling into emptiness. You are falling into his arms. You are not slipping into a dark void. You are being lowered into a bed that holds your full weight. A presence that does not change when you can no longer keep your eyes open. If, in the moments just before sleep, old fears try one last time to speak, you don't have to argue with them. You can simply turn your attention back to Him, like a child looking past the shadows on the wall and back to the parent sitting in the chair nearby. You might even let a few simple phrases rest on your heart as you drift. You are with me. I am held. You are my rock. I am safe in you. You watch over me. I can sleep. If those phrases tangle or fade, that's okay. God is not grading you on how clearly you can think when you're tired. He hears the deeper prayer, the one your body is praying just by finally letting go. Before you slip fully over into sleep, let these words be spoken over you like a blessing. May your mind be quieted tonight, not by force, but by the realization that you are not in charge of the universe. May your body be allowed to rest, every muscle softening under the knowledge that you are no longer on duty. May your home be wrapped in the unseen shelter of God's presence. Doors watched, windows covered, rooms held, every person under His care. May the fears that have chased you all day lose their strength in the light of His nearness. May the shame that sat on your shoulders fall away and stay away, replaced by the gentle truth of how He sees you. May tomorrow's worries wait where they belong, out in the future, while you receive the gift of this night. May your dreams, if you have them, be touched by His peace. If your sleep is deep and without memory, may you wake with the sense that His rest reached places you didn't even know were tired. May your heart, even while you sleep, be held firmly in His hand. And when morning comes, whether you wake to bright sunlight or gray skies, to noisy schedules or quiet rooms, may you open your eyes and remember this. Nothing about His love changed while you were asleep. He is still here. You are still His. You are still carried. You can, at any moment, in any future night, come back to this fire. You can close your eyes and remember this place, the warmth, the quiet, His voice, His face turned toward you with kindness. You don't have to wait until you are completely undone to return. You can come back on ordinary nights, on messy nights, on nights when you feel nothing at all. He will be here, always ready to sit with you, always ready to listen, always ready to lift what you cannot, always ready to watch while you sleep and stand with you when you wake. So now, let's pray, simply and softly. Jesus, thank you for being with this precious one tonight. Thank you for every burden they laid down, every tear you saw, every fear you stood in front of, every whisper of shame you answered with your love. Thank you for covering them under your wings, for watching over their coming and going, for being their rock, their refuge, their fortress. I ask that you bless their sleep. Let it be deeper than usual, more peaceful than they expect. Quiet their mind, calm their body, guard their home. Place your hand over the people they love. Surround this place with your presence. As they sleep, work in ways they cannot see. Heal what needs healing. Strengthen what feels weak. Gently untangle what has been knotted. Prepare mercies for their tomorrow. And when morning comes, let them wake up still aware, maybe even just in a small, quiet way, that they are loved, held, and carried by you. Let rejoicing, even a tiny seed of it, come with the light. Let goodness and mercy follow them into their day. In your name, Jesus, we place this night, this body, this mind, this home, and this future. Amen. Now you can rest. The fire is still glowing. He is still here. Morning will come. And when it does, you will wake up still held. As you drift off, remember, you are not alone. God is watching over you. If this brought you peace tonight, subscribe to Night Psalms, comment where you're watching from, and leave a prayer so we can lift each other up. When you need this again, just come back to the fire.